Hari Om everyone. A question that can always be asked is, how is Swamiji or Swami Vivekananda still relevant? I'm sure everybody knows he's famous, but relevant after even 125 years. And my personal belief is that he appealed a lot to the youth, and he also appealed a lot to a wide range of views. So his starting point was about just being universalism and inclusiveness in many forms, where we today I think need a lot of that thinking. And Swamiji, I think 125 years back, knew this, and that is probably what makes him a lot more relevant today. If you also look at his contributions, he has instituted, I think 100 years back, several institutions, universities, ashrams, and my father was one of the recipients of one of the educational institutions. I had the privilege and honor of studying in one of the Ramakrishna mission schools for a few years. The benevolence of the Ramakrishna mission home in Mylapore, which is believed that Swami Vivekananda personally lived there in that area for some time and inspired that movement. My father studied over there in the early 60s, 70s, and today he goes back to provide that service. There is something I've heard always the students of the home say, which is the values that are inculcated in them, the confidence, the ability to be humble, and the ability to give back. And I think that is the most important aspect to it. Today my father for the last 15 years has been living in the ashram, and he still feels he's not given back enough to the home that gave him all the education and who he is and what he is. And I think I can't dissociate myself from it, because what the institution gave him is precisely what probably I am today as well, through the values of my parents and so on. I think what also appealed and still appeals to everyone from Swamiji's work is his simplification of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, his simplification of Advaita Vedanta as well. And as the term goes, Advaita Vedanta, it basically means that the he and you, which is the soul, are all the same. And easier to understand this, or easier when said just theoretically and conceptually, but to realize it, I think he laid a lot of easy ways to understand this, or the bhashyas as they are called, which is the explanations, not interpretations, but explanations, to try and make it a lot more practical for the current generation. And I think till date, some of the things that he has mentioned around how to live, giving up all the vices, which is just simple things like greed and jealousy, living with purity and patience and perseverance to overcome obstacles. There are just so many things that he had said more than 100 years back. And I would say the same thing to my children even today, because they are the most critical aspects to it. A few things that changed the way in which I thought. One is clearly, I earlier imagined to say Karma Yoga, for example, was just service that you provide to somebody else. And in the last few years, as I grew, I had also spent a lot of time trying to provide this to whoever is in need. And in fact, Swami Vivekananda ji has been involved in some of those missions with us in trying to educate girl children. So I'm trying to bring 2-3 things that Swamiji mentioned here. But as I learned and read it again and again, and then the beauty of some of the works that Swamiji has done in the last 100 years as books that are available to us, is today I learned that the same duty of Karma Yoga can also be performed as I go to office, right? Where the work that I do in office, can it be deemed as duty? does not mean that the fruits that come are not relevant, but is that what you really want to go after, or do you perform it as duty? And that's something that I've learned over the last many years, and it is a pursuit. I don't think some of these philosophies are just to be learned and read, but over the years practiced. And that's what Swamiji somewhere tries to ensure, that these are not just to be thought and reflected upon only, but to act. He played a huge role in education, and that's something that I am grateful for, that I got, and I'm also able to give it to a few hundred people. In terms of especially girl children, because they are very critical towards community building. A girl who's educated and goes into formal work in any form changes not just a home, but probably also a community as well. And Swamiji has been very, very vocal around this, to say that that is probably the ticket to success. And in today's India, if you look at it, the thing that we are trying to look at is how do we educate hundreds of millions of young people. And in fact, India will remain young for the next 30-40 years. And how do we continue to educate that? Not just for the purpose of India, because there is also going to be a situation where the world will need a lot of talent. And India could be one of those talent exporters if we use some of Swamiji's views around. And it's not just about educating through books, because he's again been clear in that, to say that this is a lot about, he refers to a word called man making, which is beyond the knowledge. How are you learning values? How are you learning the values to work, to contribute to society, to create some impact? And I think those are some of the things to focus on, just as individuals, or if not as nation. I would probably think saying that the last part that I want to say, which is a very interesting way he looked at it, was to try and find, we all speak today of balance, primarily as the stresses of the world increase. Our pursuit towards happiness seems to be a little all over the place. But there are various works that he's done in terms of trying to ensure that there is a lot of information available on how to go about finding this balance. And I think it's not just if you could be anybody, you could be a bus driver, you could be a billionaire, and everybody is trying to go after that eternal happiness. And Swami Vivekananda's work on all of these are extremely relevant to all parts of all geographies, all religions, irrespective of who you believe and what you believe, all professions that could be there. Those are some of the things that made enormous impact on me. I have tremendously benefited from not just seeing a lot of the work that is there. I'm not somebody who just would probably take something if somebody preached it to me. I need to reflect on it. I need to try it out. And I can say that my life is probably a lot happier, a lot better. It is not like I have not been through challenges, and there have been tremendous and plenty of them through the last many years. And what has helped a lot is to try and remain hard on these and tight on these principles, where irrespective of the challenges that are there economically or some other challenges that could be there, it is important that during those trying and testing times, if we lived those principles, and I tried my best, I found that they helped me anchor a lot harder and a lot better. I'm a better person today because of many of these teachings. I wish we had somebody again like Swami Vivekananda who comes back, is able to live amongst us. Not that we need just the teachings. I think his teachings are very relevant, but it would benefit a lot of the youth. Many of you, many of us, including me, could be those small pockets of inspiration for communities or for even just a family as such. So I thank you very much for hearing me out. I wish you the very best.